66 million years ago, Earth was home to one of the most extraordinary worlds that had ever existed. Vast forests covered the land, enormous reptiles ruled every continent, and giant creatures filled the skies and the oceans. Life had survived countless natural disasters over millions of years, and nothing seemed powerful enough to bring this ancient world to an end. If someone had stood on Earth on that ordinary day, there would have been no sign that history was about to change forever. Far beyond our planet, however, a massive asteroid was already racing through space. It had been traveling for millions of years, and its path was leading directly toward Earth. Within a single day, that peaceful world would be transformed into a place of fire, darkness, and destruction, unlike anything life had ever experienced. The impact would wipe out almost every dinosaur, change the future of life on Earth, and open the door for the rise of mammals and, eventually, human beings. But one question has puzzled scientists for generations. How could a single asteroid destroy a world that had survived for millions of years? To answer that question, we must first return to Earth as it existed just before the greatest catastrophe in the history of complex life. The world before the disaster. What was Earth really like before the asteroid changed everything? The world of 66 million years ago looked much different from the planet we know today. The continents were closer to their modern positions, but the climate was much warmer. There were no polar ice caps, sea levels were much higher, and vast forests stretched across much of the land. Dinosaurs had ruled Earth for more than 160 million years. They lived in deserts, forests, mountains, and wetlands. Some species were no larger than a chicken, while others were longer than a blue whale is today. They had adapted to almost every environment on the planet. The skies were filled with giant flying reptiles known as pterosaurs, while birds continued to evolve alongside them. The oceans were home to enormous marine reptiles, giant sharks, and countless other forms of life. Every part of the planet supported rich and complex ecosystems. Flowering plants spread across the continents, and insects played an important role in pollination. Small mammals also lived in this world, but they remained hidden beneath the feet of the giant reptiles. Most were active at night, where they searched for food while avoiding powerful predators. For millions of years, life continued to evolve, and the balance of nature remained remarkably stable. Countless generations of animals were born, lived, and disappeared without any sign that this long era was approaching its end. Then, far beyond the orbit of the planets, an ancient traveler continued its silent journey through the darkness of space. It carried enough energy to change the future of Earth forever, even though no living creature had any chance of seeing it coming. A silent visitor from space. Where did the asteroid come from, and why was it heading toward Earth? Scientists believe the object that ended the age of the dinosaurs began its journey in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. For millions of years, it traveled through space as one of countless rocky bodies orbiting the Sun. Most asteroids remain in stable orbits, but sometimes gravity slowly changes their paths. The powerful gravitational pull of planets, especially Jupiter, can disturb the orbit of an asteroid over long periods of time. A small change in its path may seem unimportant at first, but over millions of years, that change can send an asteroid toward the inner solar system. The asteroid that approached Earth was about 10 kilometers wide. It moved through space at the speed of nearly 20 kilometers every second. At that incredible speed, there would have been no practical way to stop it, even if intelligent observers had existed to detect it. As the asteroid crossed the orbit of the Moon, Earth continued its normal cycle. Volcanoes erupted, rivers flowed, forests grew, and dinosaurs carried on with their lives. Nothing on the surface of the planet revealed that a catastrophic collision was only hours away. Then the asteroid entered Earth's gravitational pull. Gravity increased its speed even further and locked it onto an unavoidable path toward the surface. Within minutes, the object would enter the atmosphere. The peaceful world below was about to witness one of the most violent events in the history of our planet. The impact itself would last only a few moments, but its consequences would be felt across the entire Earth for years, decades, and even millions of years afterward. The moment Earth was struck. What happened when the asteroid finally reached Earth? Around 66 million years ago, the asteroid slammed into the region that is now the Yucatan Peninsula in present-day Mexico. It struck the planet at a speed of nearly 20 kilometers every second and released more energy than billions of nuclear bombs exploding at the same time. The force of the impact crushed the asteroid and the surrounding rocks almost instantly. Temperatures rose to levels hotter than the surface of the sun for a brief moment. Solid rock melted, vaporized, and was thrown high above the atmosphere. A massive crater nearly 180 kilometers wide formed within minutes. Today, scientists know this buried structure as the Chicxulub crater. It remains one of the largest impact craters ever discovered on Earth. The collision sent enormous shock waves through the ground. Powerful earthquakes spread across continents, while giant tsunamis raced across nearby oceans. Along coastlines thousands of kilometers away, walls of water destroyed everything in their path. Millions of tons of molten rock and glowing debris were launched into space before falling back across the planet. As this material re-entered the atmosphere, it heated the sky until it glowed like a giant furnace. Vast regions of forests and grasslands caught fire, and enormous wildfires spread across entire continents. Within only a few hours, the world that had remained stable for millions of years had become almost unrecognizable. The destruction reached far beyond the impact site, and the worst consequences had not even begun. The explosion lasted only a short time, but the disaster it created would continue long after the dust had settled. In the days that followed, Earth entered a dark chapter unlike anything life had experienced before. The days after the impact. Did the dinosaurs disappear on the day of the impact? The answer is no. Although the collision caused immediate destruction across vast regions of the planet, the greatest threat to life came from the environmental changes that followed. The impact blasted enormous amounts of dust, ash, and tiny rock particles high into the atmosphere. At the same time, gases released from the impact spread around the globe. Within a short period, a thick layer of material surrounded the Earth and blocked much of the sunlight from reaching the surface. As the skies grew darker, temperatures began to fall. Days became dim, and nights grew even colder. Plants could no longer receive enough sunlight to carry out photosynthesis, and many forests slowly began to die. The collapse of plant life soon affected every other living creature. Plant-eating dinosaurs struggled to find food, and many became weak from starvation. As their numbers declined, the large predators that depended on them also began to disappear. The oceans faced a similar crisis. Tiny microscopic organisms that formed the foundation of marine food chains declined because of the lack of sunlight. As these organisms disappeared, fish, marine reptiles, and many other sea animals also faced widespread starvation. Scientists believe these harsh conditions lasted for months and in some regions for several years. The world had become colder, darker, and far less capable of supporting the rich ecosystems that had existed before the impact. The asteroid had triggered a chain of events that no species could escape. However, one question still remained. Why some survived and others did not? If the asteroid caused so much destruction, why did some animals survive while the dinosaurs disappeared forever? The answer was not simply the impact itself. Survival depended on whether a species could endure the years that followed. As plants died and food chains collapsed, giant herbivores ran out of food, and the predators that depended on them soon followed. Smaller animals had important advantages. Many mammals lived in underground burrows, required less food, and could survive on seeds, insects, or almost anything they could find. Birds, the only surviving descendants of dinosaurs, also endured because of their smaller size and flexible diets. When sunlight finally returned, nearly 75% of all plant and animal species had disappeared. The age of the non-avian dinosaurs had come to an end, and a new chapter in the history of life had begun. For millions of years, nobody knew what had caused this global catastrophe. The answer remained hidden beneath Earth's surface until scientists discovered a worldwide layer rich in iridium, an element that is rare on Earth but common in asteroids. The final breakthrough came with the discovery of the giant Chicxulub crater beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Together with shocked quartz and tiny glass spheres created by extreme heat, the evidence confirmed that a massive asteroid had struck Earth 66 million years ago. After decades of research, one of Earth's greatest mysteries was finally solved. The asteroid that changed the history of life was not unique. Similar objects are still traveling through our solar system today. Could another impact like this happen again?